Why was Palpatine actually glad that Anakin Skywalker had a cybernetic arm? Greetings, acolytes of the galaxy, back to our archives. It is now commonly known that Darth Sidious was more than a little disappointed that Anakin failed on Mustafar, resulting in him being bound to a suit of cybernetic armor that forever put a cap on his original, unfathomable powers. Years of plotting and planning for the future had literally gone up in flames right before Palpatine, and now he could only use Vader as a tool because of his cybernetic limbs and his newfound limitations. Despite this, however, what did Palpatine actually think about Anakin Skywalker's bionic arm? We know that Palpatine was absolutely furious at Obi-Wan for permanently crippling his long-awaited apprentice, but was he equally angry at Dooku for damaging his prize before his time was correct? Surprisingly, the answer is no. In fact, not only did Palpatine not mind Anakin's arm, he actually delighted in it. And today, we will answer why, and open up yet another holocron, and discuss why Darth Sidious actually loved Anakin Skywalker's mechanical arm. Before we dive in though, the Master of the Archives have reported that there are a few scholars pursuing our library who have not yet enrolled. If you'd like to be kept updated on what we post in our daily holocrons, then be sure to reach out and force crush that subscribe button to become an acolyte. Now, onto our holocron. Our source today comes from the Revenge of the Sith novelization, wherein we get an exclusive look at a private meeting between Count Dooku and Palpatine on the Invisible Hand. This chat takes place just minutes before Anakin and Obi-Wan rush in to save the Chancellor during the Battle of Coruscant. As the two conspire with one another about the plan that is going to take place, Dooku then begins to question Palpatine's decision to induct Anakin as his new apprentice. After criticizing Anakin's character, Dooku then makes a disparaging remark about his mechanical arm, to which Palpatine replies to the effect that if Dooku didn't like it, then perhaps he could have spared Anakin's real arm. And at this, Dooku says, a real gentleman would have learned to fight one-handed, after which he launches into a tirade about how Anakin's mechanical arm basically made him subhuman in Dooku's eyes. Tyrannus remarks that the use of a biodroid device is almost forgivable as it was an upgrade from his original alien body, claiming that he was a disgusting creature to begin with. But like Anakin, the blend of droid and human was appalling, and Dooku goes as far to say that they shouldn't even associate with the young Skywalker. But Palpatine puts Dooku in his place, but very gently, responding with, "How fortunate I am to have an apprentice that feels it appropriate to lecture me." Dooku backs down with a courteous apology, acknowledging that he stepped out of line. And then, Palpatine lays it all on the table plainly so that Dooku will now understand. The Master then pauses and says this: Skywalker's arm makes him, for our purposes, even better. It is the permanent symbol of the sacrifice he has made in the name of peace and justice. It is a badge of heroism that he must publicly wear for the rest of his life. No one can ever look at him and doubt his honor, his courage, and his integrity. He is perfect just as he is. He is perfect. This is certainly a very interesting explanation, with the obvious question being, why would Darth Sidious, a Sith Lord, care anything about things such as honor, peace, and integrity? The answer lies in subjugating the galaxy, the very topic that the two Sith were discussing. They needed to ensure that they had the trust of the common people of the Republic, and make it so that they could sway all public opinion against the Jedi. And this is something that we know. The very first step of this operation was getting Anakin to a place of fame in the public eye. Why was this so important? By using media outlets and the HoloNet, Palpatine ensured that Anakin's battlefield bravery made frontline pages every time. We don't get to see a lot of this on screen, but by the time of Revenge of the Sith, Anakin Skywalker was a household name, a true Jedi celebrity. Anakin was called the hero with no fear, and he was truly the Republic's protagonist in this war. If you saw a piece of the Republic propaganda, you could bet all your credits that it was going to feature Anakin Skywalker. And this was very meticulously done, and was all done on purpose, because Anakin was going to be the one to turn the public against the Jedi. You see, the mechanical arm, as Sidious pointed out, is his permanent badge of honor. It represents what he sacrificed for the Republic in the line of duty, proving that his heart belongs to the peace for all people. Palpatine was willing to sacrifice a little of Anakin's midichlorian count in his arm if it meant something much greater, the admiration of the Commonwealth. The original plan Sidious had in mind is much different than what actually played out in Revenge of the Sith. The original plan went like this. After Order 66 was finished, Anakin Skywalker would get on the HoloNet directly and broadcast a message all across the Republic. using his great influence to denounce and antagonize the Jedi Order. With public support, it would be a very swift takeover and transition from Republic to Empire. To put it simply, Anakin's arm was a direct representation of his loyalty to the people of the Republic. And if you want to go even deeper, it wasn't just any wound, it was a lightsaber wound from a former Jedi. This would also go to show that Anakin was willing to go saber to saber for anyone on behalf of the Republic, even if it meant sacrificing his life. Of course, to the common citizen, they would see this and recognize that he would be willing to do this again, even if it were against his own Jedi brethren, for the betterment of the Republic, for the betterment of a lowly Republic citizen. This would for certain turn any galactic citizen against the Jedi beyond a shadow of a doubt. People like Palpatine as a politician well enough, but the Dark Lord wanted a true hero to be the face, or should I say hand, of the new Empire. Sidious's plan was brilliant, and even Dooku was forced to admit that this all made much more sense when he really was forced to think about it. The only things the two Sith Lord needed was to break Anakin out of the shell of his Jedi training, and for this, they simply needed Obi-Wan killed, and to draw Anakin as deep to the dark side as they could. Dooku was to surrender after all of this, following being defeated by Anakin, and after this, Dooku was to politely sit in prison and wait out the rest of the war, all while pretending to be remorseful and repentant of his rebellious ways. Once the Jedi were destroyed, Dooku would get a pardon and would come out of the Empire to help construct it. Palpatine had Dooku convinced that he would be the Emperor's right-hand man, while Anakin would serve as the general of a new Sith army. Dooku was going to remake the Jedi Order into something more powerful, and focused on the dark side with Anakin as his underling. However, Dooku was blinded by his ambition and his trust in Palpatine, as he never saw the betrayal coming. Rather than surrender, Dooku was executed at Palpatine's command, and the rest is history. Most ironic of all, Dooku would end up eating his words about Anakin's hand in the end, as both of his were taken just before his death, to mark the true beginnings of Lord Vader. Unfortunately, along with Palpatine's plan for Anakin to become the most powerful Sith ever, his plan for Anakin to be the public face of the Empire also went up in flames on the shores of Mustafar. Vader was truly more machine now than man, and the public likely would have only seen him as another General Grievous, a fatal flaw, as the public would be thrown into a frenzy, handing one Force-sensitive regime to the other. This would cause mass revolution immediately and would definitely threaten the Empire, and this is why the Emperor kept up his facade as a weak old man and a reclusive old man behind closed doors. Darth Vader would instead become the face of the Imperial military, and he would fit that role with an iron fist. Sidious was also forced to obscure Darth Vader's identity as Anakin, with fear of those catching on that Anakin had fallen to the dark side and become a tyrant like the old days. According to all Imperial public records, Anakin Skywalker was dead. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this, and the fact that Darth Sidious actually loved Anakin Skywalker's biomechanical arm? And what do you think of Sidious's ultimate plan to raise Anakin as the true war hero of the Clone Wars, his great lie to Dooku, and why in the end, Darth Sidious proves his intelligence over nearly everybody? Just as a quick update, I'm currently rereading the novelization for Revenge of the Sith, so stay tuned for a ton of Revenge of the Sith lore, as we take a deep dive into the lore. As always, my friends and acolytes, thank you again for visiting our archives. May the Force be with you, and I hope to see you soon.